Hello, everyone, and thanks for joining us on this episode of the Pave It Forward podcast. My name is Phil Metzger, and with me is Kevin Gray, and we are here to help leaders in the paving industry who are looking to run more efficiently, meet their ideal customer, and improve the lives of those around them through meaningful work. Kevin, how are we this morning?
I'm great, man. I'm doing really well this morning. It's getting a little nerve wracking. I don't know if nerve wracking is the right word, but it's been in the mid to low 40s the last 3 mornings, and I walk outside. I'm like, man, winter can't be creeping up quite this quickly yet. It's still just the 1st of September, so historically we've got 90 days left of the season or so, and um, but it's a reminder that winter is coming and that we need to start preparing and planning and making sure all the ducks are in a row for that end of the season push, and then getting our budgets and everything set up and for the winter so that we can survive and advance to a new season. So it's just a good reminder, man. It's chilly in the home studio this morning, and it's like, man, it's on the horizon.
Yep.
How you doing?
I'm great. I actually had to turn the heat on. I do this from the basement and where I live, and had to turn the heater on earlier last week for the first time in the mornings because yeah, it got pretty cold. But man, it really is kind of nice. It's strange sometimes how that sounds so terrible at the beginning of summer, but by the time the end of the summer comes, it's kind of nice to feel that different change in weather. And of
I
course,
love it.
it definitely lets you know, especially in this industry, that a new season is coming in business as well.
That's
So
right.
that kind of involves some different things for me. For one, you have more time, so we can
Yes.
look at some of those things that weren't urgent, but were important. That we take our time in the off season and really diagnose some things. So it's really about for us preparing for you to have more time and for you to be able to maximize that. Because obviously, one of the questions we get in marketing is, can we hire you? Can we just hire you temporarily and then in the off season just let you go? And the quick answer is it is not physically possible, but yes, it is possible to do that. But you're really missing out on actually building all the channels up and maximizing what you can do during the year. So for us, it's really about making sure we continue to bring our customers value. And so that means making sure that we take advantage of your time. So, it is getting exciting because, for us, we're looking at the data and we're getting that we know it's that home stretch of the data that we can get for the year. So
Yeah.
it's really about making sure that our channels are clean, our data is clean. So when it comes time to really dig into those and make comparisons based off those, set goals based off those, that we really have a strong finish and we set a good base for, the bar for next year. So
Yeah.
yeah, as odd as it is with things kind of potentially slowing down, it really does feel like it's a new gear that you kind of have to kick into. So
Yeah.
yeah,
I'm glad you brought that data piece up. We talk about having good, clean data on this podcast a lot because if I've learned anything in my 16, 17 years of doing this, it's how important having that good data is. And if we haven't collected and kept and maintained really good data throughout this and entirety of this season, then all the things that we intend to do and work on and forecast and plan and budget and set goals and derive actionable steps, over this off season. We can't do a lot of that as efficiently or as effectively as we'd like to if we haven't collected good data all year round. So it's huge that we're going to have as much good data as we do, just kind of one season into this maiden voyage of this new business. So I'm really looking forward to that because I tell you, man, the first go round in business, I didn't start collecting any semblance of decent data. We had data, but it wasn't great. It wasn't clean. It was bad info in. You get crappy reports and info out, and it 5, 6, 7, maybe even 8 years till that light bulb went off, and we really started understanding how important having that great data was, so that we could run a better business year in and year out. and plan and make decisions accordingly. Because if you don't have it, you're just guessing on all your decision making. So
Sure. And that
I'm looking
compounds.
forward to it, man.
Yeah, yeah, and that compounds down the line. You know, if you set goals based
Oh,
off bad information, it's absolutely impossible to know if you're accurate, and for you to really gain that peace of mind and security that you're
yeah,
setting accurate goals for your company. And
it's
honestly,
more
it's
like a
just
wish.
yeah, it's more like a wish. And
Yeah.
honestly, it feels I compare it to kind of like tax season. Obviously, the IRS, you got to keep up with your receipts and everything like that throughout the year, or else at the end of the year or whenever you decide to do your taxes and compound all that, you know, it's you have the IRS pounding on your door. With the data, no one's doing it. It just crumbles underneath you if you're not maintaining it. So I feel like it's every bit as important, especially if you're going to take some serious time and make some big decisions off of it. But anywho, we've got some, aside from that data track, obviously we can get on that all day. And we're actually going to talk a bit about that today and continuing our part two of the networking, in-person networking theme. If you missed the last episode, we kind of covered the foundations there, some of the more solid things that you need to have under control, maybe some things that you need to actually physically prepare for events to make sure that you're set up for success. And for this one, we're going to talk a little bit about looking into the future, a little bit of the data, and just some potential challenges you also might have when going into some of these situations. So you know, you talked about how you started this journey with the other company, Kevin, quite a while ago now, and you said maybe even 5 to 8 years ago you started collecting data. What are some of the first memories you have of attending some of these events that we're in the middle of right now? Particularly, we're in an event for Woodford County. They have a 1 day event that we just wrapped up last weekend, and then the Gaslight Festival, which is a 3 day event in J-Town, one of our key markets. Can you kind of just dive into a little bit of what that atmosphere is like and just some generalities about what your goals are there?
Yeah, I mean, both of these events are, we've participated a handful of times at least in both of them, and uh, they're very well attended. They're very well put on. They get a lot of traffic, and some of that obviously is weather dependent. But again, they're in these early fall kind of seasons, which I think lend to having at least the probability of having some better weather where you can get mass amounts of people that want to come out there and are going to spend 2, 3, 4, 5 hours. There's great food vendors, there's music, there's beverages. It's just a good, wholesome community events. I mean, Gaslight. Um, I feel a little ignorant for not knowing more of the history on it, but I mean that thing's been going on there in J-Town here in Louisville for decades. I mean, I couldn't even guess, but I bet it's into its 30th, 30 to 40th, 50th, maybe even kind of year of doing that. And so it's just a staple in the community. Both of them have become staples in their respective communities that draw out massive crowds. And they're both, Louisville is a big metropolitan area, but J-Town really is kind of a community inside of this community. It's very tight knit. Um, they have a lot of pride in that community, and this Gaslight Festival brings out not only the residents of J-Town there, but so many people in Louisville and Jefferson County and even surrounding counties, just because they've been doing it for so long and it's so well done. There's so many events within the event that people come out to attend. And we just think it's a good opportunity to put our brand out there in front of a lot of meaningful traffic within our communities and just kind of see and basically all we want to do by being there is just start a conversation with however many people that we can start a conversation with. And a lot of the times it can be a crapshoot, but we've done enough of these shows over a long enough period of time that we know what's worthwhile to invest our marketing and advertising dollars in. And these two are staples. And we just want to be there to start a conversation with the right kind of folks who are either looking for our services or people within the community that we may want to be reaching or engaging with or building relationships with now and into the future. So again, it's just all about putting ourselves out there on the field and having the brand awareness there and just being available to have a conversation with somebody. It's very similar to being available on Google and taking a lot of pride and effort and energy and putting that in to your SEO and your branding and your marketing, everything we do with you at Mirror. It's like if we need to be available and ready for a conversation to our consumer every place we think it's important that we can be, and that's really what this boils down to.
Sure. And I when thinking about the in-person events, for us at first it was almost like when I first started my marketing company 7 or 8 years ago now, it was almost intimidating the fact that word of mouth was so powerful. And it was almost a goal of mine to make sure that the digital realms and all the other aspects were trying or outperforming word of mouth. And once I realized that was not going to happen, and in fact, it's the exact opposite, we need to be supporting the word of mouth. We need to make sure that you are fully prepared to get more word of mouth inquiries. Once that switch kind of happened, it really triggered something in our company that I feel really started to help business owners because they now don't have to worry about if their brand looks good. They don't have to worry about if they have the correct information to give someone. They don't have to worry about if they have the digital ability or digital assets to hand someone if they need support in the sales. We want to make it fun, enjoyable for those business owner and those salespeople to have those conversations. And in within all that is, the technology aspect. It's you used to be able to count on the pamphlet, and I still think the pamphlet or something that you can hand out that is more than just a business card is very important. I think something that's people can physically hold, whether it be at an event or that they can take
Yeah.
home, is extremely important. But that those technologies have extended beyond that now. So that was kind of our first topic that we were going to dive into was just kind of leveraging that technology. And these events are also the chambers. They're part of the chambers that we belong to. And the different events, some of them have a lot of forethought and a lot of resources from you, and some of them only have a few things. But um, for this next part, I thought we could just kind of dive into the tech. Because something that, and again, I have to shout out Emily with the Woodford County Chamber. They supplied us digital maps that we could give people, so we would be able to tell them where the vendor booths are and the attractions are. They gave us great materials to promote it on social media, and they gave us great instructions. So that was really a boost up for us that we didn't have to go in and create our own marketing material. But can you kind of talk about maybe what it was like, or what you're maybe doing different these days, or notice differently about your approach these days compared to maybe when you first started, Kev?
Man, I probably the biggest thing is uh, I I think it's gone from more, at least on my end, it's gone. Obviously, we're there to generate business and drive business and build relationships and hopefully, obviously spread our brand a little further out into the community. And I think maybe when I first started these things, my mindset was a little different, and in changing my mindset, these things have become a little easier, a little less intimidating. And I just want to talk about, and we may be getting into this in this episode, how, especially if you're doing these things kind of for the first time ever, or it's your, first or second show, or you haven't done a bunch of these networking events and big crowds aren't your thing, yada yada, all the things that used to stress me out when I was first starting to do these things. Like I was shy. I wanted to be there, but like, man, I hope nobody comes and talks to me, kind of thing. Like
Sure.
you get the butterflies. And I think a lot of that was derived because I was so consumed, um, that I was there to make sales or to
Mhm.
make a transaction happen, or that I needed to close business right then and there. And it's kind of like, although yes, I guess at the root of why we're there, but like that's not necessarily the goal of when we're there. If you close some business, that's great. But I think now my mentality and mindset has shifted more so to, let's see what kind of conversations we can have. Let's get to know people. Let's just, build a relationship. Let's just be available. Let's just be there to answer questions and not be so much on the aggressive sales side of things and pushing. And I remember when we used to do the home guard and remodeling show here in Louisville. We did that for years. That was one of the things we did earliest on that I can recall, back in the early, 2011, 2012, 2000. I mean, we did that for 4 or 5, maybe 6 years. We had these corny questions we would ask people. Like every single person that would walk by would be like, how's your driveway? How's your parking lot? Do you need a new drive? Like it was almost so aggressive, it was uncomfortable. And now it's like, let me just be, I've got the booth assets behind me. We've got a tent. Um, we've got a lot of information on our table. We've got a TV screen, we're QR codes where people can snap in and get to our website or get to some other of our marketing materials. And like people can obviously see who we are, what we do, just from our booth assets. So it's like, let me just be available at the front of this booth, standing up uh, and not grabbing every single person that comes by, because I think that's where a lot of the nerves and all that stuff kind of fester, is feeling like you have to. Yeah, do we want to have goals when we go to these shows? Do we want to have some tangible, you know, benchmarks that we can set out to hit? Sure, of course we do, but I feel like they come a lot easier when we're just there and available, and not necessarily, because I've been to hundreds of trade shows myself too, and these networking events, and the booths I walk by where there's people out front, like, hey, it's kind of like you walking through the mall peddlers, the people with the kiosk at the mall are like, oh, here, try this perfume, try. It's like you're like, no thanks. It's like, let's not have that no thanks response from the people walking through these shows, and just be out there with a smile and just have a normal kind of conversation. Doesn't even have to be a business conversation. You could talk about the person's dog that they're walking. I don't care. They're
Sure.
still going to see your hat, your shirt, your booth, your brand, your logo, so maybe just kind of take that edge off of it and just relax a bit, and just get into a little more human interaction, and if the business conversation and sales stuff comes up and the questions and people want to know about more about your product, that's awesome. But let it be
Absolutely.
the people that are really interested in your product, not every single person that walks by.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm really glad you got into this because this is something we hadn't even considered, which is really like your mannerism just when you're representing
Mhm.
yourself at these booths. Something as far as having a smile ready and looking people in the eye, goes a long way. But I heard someone say it a long, long time ago, and I've always remembered it. But they told me to smile with your eyes,
Mm.
and it just means when someone looks at you at all, makes eye contact, just make sure that they can tell you're smiling without looking at your actual mouth. And so
Wow.
I thought that was pretty cool. And also kids, man, kids are going to be the one that are the weirdest, the ones that are going to stare at you anyways, so, if you just, say hi or make a funny wave, the the point which you
That's
did a great job at explaining is to make people feel comfortable and just be like, that's
mhm.
someone I want to talk to, regardless of what, you're doing, just being approachable and be like,
Yeah.
I could talk
Regardless of
to
what I'm
that guy.
selling.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It regardless, and it just that's the first barrier to this relationship, so people aren't all of a sudden the center of the aisle scoots a little bit away from you as
Yeah. Right.
you're getting too
Yeah.
aggressive.
Like, here come the
But
guys in the blue shirts.
yeah, absolutely. And you can also, if nothing else, practice on the trick-or-treaters at your booth,
Yeah.
that are looking at your eye,
Candy's
looking in.
helpful. If nothing else, that'll get the strange kid that's like mean mugging you or giving you a weird look. That'll change that tone real quick if you got some candy sitting there. It makes that
Yeah,
the
there you
weird
go.
interaction with the 5-year-old a little bit more manageable.
Staring up through the huge glasses. Yeah, I get it. But that's yeah, that's really killer point, Kev. And I know you're naturally good at that, and I've seen you kind of grow. And I was actually thinking about when you talked about the first events that you went to, that was some of the things we were discussing if you still wanted to do it when we first started working together.
Yeah, man.
So even seeing the progress over the years through these booths, it's really changed my mind as far as what's in-person sales is supposed to be. Something else I just wanted to wrap up is, when the organizers of an event give you some assets, use them. Even if you're not a title sponsor of an event, you can put your logo and your own marketing materials right next to all the main sponsors. And just to go through a few, for the previous festival, it was City National Bank, Commonwealth Credit Union, Visit Woodford County, and the Woodford County Chamber of Commerce. Obviously, these are going to be more trusted symbols within your, obviously, everyone has a different bank, etc. But these are going to be the more trusted symbols within your community. So just the fact that you can, even if it's a social media post or something like that, just put your brand next to these other community trusted brands, I think is a good thing to be aware of. And then also the social media aspect of it. These the people that have put on these events typically work very, very hard to put on
Mm,
these events. And even if so, the type of material we put out is not typically about events. We like educating our customer, educating the people in the asphalt paving industry. When we put up a flyer about a local event, it's going to do poorly on social media, typically. That's fine. The point is to let your community know that you want to be part of your community, and to also let those
yes.
event organizers know that you're a team player, because when it comes down to it, they may have hundreds of other booths that are at that event and connections that you can make. And especially for us to be in that same positive frame of mind with them as you are for that potential customer that walks by, I think is a huge thing. So respect the organization that is putting this together and do what you can to
Mm.
help them out, because that could be um, new relationship number one out of the event before the event has even started. So yeah, I just think it's really important to recognize the organizers of the event.
That's a great point. Let me give you some kudos with, I mean, we everything we've done. I mean, and again, like you said, it's kind of out of the wheelhouse and the norm and the realm of what we and you as our marketing firm do on a daily, weekly kind of basis. We take you take time out of your schedule and assets and resources to put these together, and they're very well done. I don't see a ton of other vendors really taking the time to put out kind of these show posts like we do, and telling their audiences about them, and like you said, the biggest thing is it's supporting whoever's hosting, organizing these shows, whether it be the Chamber of Commerce or whatever, the BIA, whatever. Every single time we do that, we get someone from the leadership team of that organization reaching out, either to me personally, or they'll see me at the event and they'll say, "Hey, thanks for sharing that. Thanks for putting that piece together and taking the time to do that, and promoting our event. It really means a lot." So, I don't know. It's a nice touch, and it's like you said, just kind of being respectful and appreciative of those who put so much time and effort and energy into putting these things on, because they take a lot of and this Gaslight Festival, I'm sure they've got it down to a pretty good science by now, but it's probably months of preparation and planning. I mean, there's tens of thousands of people will be exhibiting and attending this thing this weekend. So I mean, it's a big deal. It shuts down the entire downtown J-town area for 3 days, and the vendors and everybody that come in, the traffic, the people, and it's. I don't know. It's just nice to show some appreciation, and then it's nice to get that reciprocated, to know that they appreciate our efforts in putting those together. So I
Sure.
appreciate you doing those, man. That's a good look for us and our brand and in our community. So
Heck yeah, it really is a thrill. Because especially when that the organizer is the one that puts you in that golf group, with the
that's
the
right, man.
horse farm owner, and
Absolutely.
That's what it's about, and that's why there is no off season for marketing or any business really if you're going to maintain a lifestyle out of that business.
Yeah,
Um,
and it's look, it's just kind of doing the right, the next right thing and being respectful and cross promoting. I mean, they're allowing you to have a booth so you can promote your business. Why not give them a little love back? And you're right, like you never know the doors that'll open. I mean, because of the relationship we've created with the Woodford Chamber of Commerce and just the year and a half, couple years we've been involved with them, because we've done a little more, like you just said, they've done a little more for us, and they know our intentions and reasoning behind joining that Chamber of Commerce and what kind of client customer that we're after, and they've done everything they can, in my opinion, to align us and put us in a position to be in front of those kind of customers. So
yep,
it's a two-way street. I mean,
yep. And
you can't just always be taking and taking and taking. Like we put out, like I said, you give your time, energy, resources, efforts to put those posts together and promote for no return. Like that's just something extra that you do. So it's an example of us giving something and not always just being, hey, we're a member, we pay the dues, we're entitled to be a part of this organization. Give us some business. It don't
yep.
work like that, man. It's
Yeah,
a two-way
absolutely.
street.
And even, some of these organizations can get a little pricey, but when you break it down, and especially if you're doing advertising and compare it to the potential upside of, your basic advertising, I think you'll see that the benefits are equal at minimum, and if not much greater because of the if you choose the right organization, the client type should be a great fit and close to your top of the line product that you offer. So it should be quite a gain there. And we don't do it all just for kindness, Kevin. We do have some network goals that we like to measure. Of course, those social media posts that don't quite get as many hits, we definitely are just trying to be community engagement minded first.
Yep.
But we do also like to set some goals, and this can be hard. This is something that we didn't do at first. At first, we just wanted to make sure that you had everything you needed to make the sale. You had the video, the packets, the tent, whatever it may be, the contest, whatever it may be at that event to uh, just have what you need to be successful. But in getting into this, and especially once you integrate some technology and can gather some more data points, and you can understand what it is you're trying to get out of an event, and maybe even a somewhat close to a return on investment, a direct return on investment. So I just wanted to let the people know like what we kind of do to measure, and then what our kind of goals are going into this next festival.
Yep.
So some of the kind of goals that we set, uh, we have a goal for the actual certain number of leads that we gain, and what we consider a lead is actually gaining the email or phone number of someone that is truly interested in. That can also be a form submitted on a website. uh, so we want to count those. I in business, I always go with this hell yes, quote unquote hell yes mentality. I think um, when something really excites you like that, you're onto something. So number of hell yes opportunities, which is either leads from commercial properties and facilities managers, or something that turns into more than a $10,000 contract. And then just to kind of try to round this out quickly, the number of total contact inquiries, meaning I just went through that. Excuse me, meaning they asked for a follow up. The next is the goal number of QR codes scanned. We have QR codes in a packet, and we have QR codes on a video and screen. And so we also have some on some flyers. So we actually have different landing pages for all those. So we will track those numbers. And the last number is the number of advertising views. What we do is we take all this information that the event has given us, we create our own custom landing page. And so when we put those ads on Facebook and Instagram, people click on those. It comes to our website, which gives them the dates, the times, the maps that the organization has provided, where they can find us. And really, it's just an opportunity to say, hey, again, don't forget this Pave It Forward logo. This Kevin Gray guy is going to be there. And it's just making them familiar. So when they do walk by the booth, it's not like looking at a complete stranger there for you, Kev. So I know that was kind of a lot. I'll tell you that those numbers can fluctuate greatly by the weather and things like that. But yeah, we're looking forward to really trying to dive into that stuff. And as someone from the other side of things, just really trying to figure out how effective these pieces are for marketing, I think those are a pretty good set of goals. Kevin, have you thought of anything else as far as numbers wise? I know you said you changed your mentality as far as, you're really looking to make conversations. But what about those kind of goals? Is there anything else that you try to get out of an event like this or something like this coming up with a festival?
Man, again, and I think my mentality has just changed so much over, almost 2 decades of doing these kinds of events. Uh, Early on, I mean, we would set, I don't know, back then, 60-inch TV was a huge deal, and we'd set a 60-inch TV at the booth that we'd also be running our marketing kind of video through or whatever. And we're like, hey, fill out this piece of paper and win, for a chance to win this so we'd give a TV away at all these events we would do. And it what it resulted in were hundreds, if not a few thousand names, phone numbers, and email addresses that we would then turn, take back to if the show was over a weekend, we'd go back Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, however long it took to call each and every one of those people and then try and determine if they had any interest in any of our services, paving, pavement maintenance, any repair, anything that we, driveway, parking lot, so we would then after the show, which is crazy to me now, would sift through these hundreds, if not a handful of thousand, names, phone numbers, emails, and start following up with these people until they basically we got some kind of answer that said, no, we have no interest in any paving services. We wanted to win the free television. So, um, again, it's it's kind of boiled down to now, like, we want to make sure we're having the right kind of conversation with the right kind of people who are actually interested in at least a facet of at least who we are, what we do, what our services include, and maybe they don't need something today, but they at least know that potentially in the future they may have a need for our services, or they're acquiring some property that may need our services, or we just had this done, but we know in 2 to 3 years we need to fully replace our parking lot or our driveway. We don't want to be talking to every single person that just may be interested in winning a $1,500 television. Like, it was complete. I won't say it was a waste of time, but it took us hours upon hours after we'd spent hours upon hours at this show all weekend, um, sifting through all these people again to find out 5% of these hundreds of forms that got filled out were actually maybe decent leads,
Hmm.
and created an appointment. So it's really just, again, for me at least, and again, it's a double-edged sword because yes, am I there to sell our services to a consumer? Absolutely. At the end of the day, sales is what we're after by attending these shows. But I want to do it in a manner strategic enough to know that I'm having good conversations with the right people, and kind of just eliminating that, unnecessary need, because time is money. Um, and I can't imagine how much time I took away from not just myself, but my sales staff, office staff, following up with all of those leads after we do those trade shows, when they would result to maybe I don't know, a few $1,000s maybe worth of sales. So just, again, just being there, being available, being approachable, having a smile on your face, and and setting some goals, and being realistic with them, and having those right conversations.
Sure. And I'm realizing as we're going through this, obviously I have this kind of backbone infrastructure running in the background as far as collecting data.
Yeah.
But what this really allows you to do is not worry about that. Like you don't need to be focusing on if you hit 10 number of ideal total contacts over 3 days. That's going to put that pressure on and change that from an approachable nature to a pressure sales based situation again. So, it really is
It's
interesting.
good to have those tangible targets in the back of my mind. I mean, don't get me
Yeah.
wrong. Like at the end of the day, um, and if you're an entrepreneur, you better be wired this way to be a kind of a sales first kind of person. But um, I know what we're at. I know what we're after. But I also know that I a lot of this, a lot at least of what we're not out there selling cologne. We're not selling t-shirts. We're not, if we were doing that kind of stuff, we could be out and say, "Hey, you want a t-shirt? You want it?"
Yeah.
It would be more of that kind of sales approach. But, I know I'll know, and this just comes from experience too, like the people who are genuinely interested and have a budget that we know we can work with, and then we'll see where the conversation goes. I just to point it out, and I know we're running short on time, but I mean, I don't know, 20 conversations at the Twilight Festival in Woodford County. I know that 10 of those were BS just because of the way they were engaging, or the way they were answering the questions I was asking, or whatever. I knew I would probably never hear from them, and I know that by me reaching out to them is probably going to be, you know, a, a dead lead. So, but that just comes from years of experience of doing this. But
Sure. Sure. You get a lot of the head nods and yeah, the blank stares going. Yeah, yeah, and also, obviously we're talking to mostly asphalt paving professionals, so chances are if you picked a good festival and you get a few leads, you're going to be able to pay for that with the business off of that. But it is always, it's
that's
it's
it.
interesting.
Yeah,
It's interesting to think about, that kind of balance in sales because, as you said, you've been doing it for a while, and it's nice to have that motivational goal in the back of your mind, like, man, day's wrapping up, and I'm trying to get three more leads this weekend or whatever, three more opportunities to have those goals without being nervous. But I think that's, yeah, I think this has been a really good kind of rounded conversation about just the mentality going into these situations because this is all about opportunity. We really have
that's
no clue what we're going into, so the best thing we can do is put ourselves in the location where our ideal customer is going to be. So if you can make yourself open and available and kind, and really just understand what you're setting with some goals, I think that pretty much is what you're looking for in an event. As far as those actual physical goals we have, or tangible goals, I guess I should say, that we have going into this next weekend. This Gaslight Festival is a 3-day event. We have four numbers that we're going to be tracking, just as kind
yeah.
of an ROI based um, uh, number metric system. Uh, we are looking for 4 hell yeses, which either means a contract, business card, or lead from a properties facilities manager, or a project that ends up being $10,000 or more. We're hoping for 4 of those. And of course, this can be tracked over a month or two if we want to extend it out. The number of total contact inquiries at 10. This has been adjusted for rain, so we're hoping that people will actually either give Kevin their information right on the spot if needed, or they actually go and fill out a form online directly for our booth. The goal number of QR codes scanned is 20. Again, these are newer systems, newer things that we're implementing here, so I really hope it blows it out of the water. But if we are rainy, then people aren't probably going to stand there and scan codes. And the last piece of information is the total number of page views from advertising. We are hoping that before the festival starts, that 100 different people will log on and either through social or whatever means they get to our landing page about the website. We're hoping 100 people have seen the Pave It Forward brand in Kevin's face and know that they will be there. So those are kind of our goals to give you all an idea on what we're looking at measuring, and then we'll follow up with those on the next episode. Kevin, kind of thinking about all this, we're wrapping up the in-person networking aspect of things. Is there anything that you've been thinking about here over this episode that you wanted to include?
No, I mean, well, I really just started thinking about it these last few minutes when we were talking about, you know, our goals and what are our tangibles that we want to take away from this. And I tell you this, man. Even if we don't hit those benchmarks or we don't have the conversations we were hoping to have, um, yeah, look, there's not going to be another paving contractor with a booth at either of these events where tens of thousands of people are going to be walking past. We look, we don't have the budget we've had at the other business yet. But we have, with the minimal budget for marketing and advertising that we do have, we've been able to buy a very nice looking, 10 by 10 tent with a logo on it. We've got a table runner. We've got the TV with some awesome digital assets that I mean, we've put together a pretty darn good looking booth for the resources that we have.
Sure.
If not, we've got polo shirts, that we've been able to acquire, and we've got hats, and so if nothing else, people are going to see our brand, and for me, that's what it's all about. I mean, it's all about brand awareness, and they may not stop and have a conversation today, but I can guarantee you with how um, technical and researched and strategic and intentional you are about branding and marketing and logo design and all the things that bring people's eyeballs and imagination to their cognitive memory when they're thinking about a brand or who they want to buy from or shop with. Like, people are going to get back to us whether they stop and have a conversation this weekend or not. I mean, we're
Sure.
we're there, we're in attendance. Our brand awareness will be there. We have memorable brand awareness, in my opinion. We've done an excellent job with that. You've done an excellent job with that. And so, if nothing else, it's just, and it's crazy because since we've gotten the vehicle wrapped and we've gotten another vehicle wrapped, and I think we're getting ready to get a trailer wrapped, and we've been putting the yard signs out. So, like, and now I'm getting feedback, like, people are like, we see you everywhere. It's like, we only have a couple of vehicles. Like, you don't, but they do. I mean,
Yeah.
it's all, so that just validifies the fact that brand awareness is important, and it does something, and it can have a big impact on your bottom line if you do and those are all little bitty things that didn't cost a whole lot of money, but I know how important they are. I know how important, because you've taught me and we've worked together at this for so long, how important brand awareness is and what that really means and what it looks like. And when people start saying a business that's not even a year old, that only has a couple assets out there on the road that are logoed, and we're just really putting yard signs out, and people are already saying in September, like, we see you guys everywhere. Like, I don't even have any dump trucks running down the road, and it's like, it's okay, something's happening.
Sure. Sure.
It's cool.
Yeah, excellent, Kevin. You are what we call for our company an ideal client because our mission is to provide a return on investment that is impossible to provide. Because there is, of course, obviously, we're getting down to the most minute data to make the most educated decisions we can. But when it comes to someone seeing your booth, the advertisement leading up to that event, and then that's it. But they go 2 years down the line to type in asphalt paving and they see that you're one of the three advertising options that pop up. Chances are they're going to choose you because they've heard of the name, they remember something about it, or if not, it gives you a better chance at being clicked. And those are the little things as to why marketing works. And it really
Amen.
really thrills me. I don't want to take this off topic too much, but it really thrills me to hear that because that is the goal. And as you kind of get wrapped up in all this and you see that the yard sign corresponds with the advertising that we're running in the area that goes with the blog article that you shared through another Instagram page or something like that. It all just makes you feel part of the community, or makes your brand part of the community, and that's what we're going for with these local contractor-based businesses. And man, it really really excites me that we're getting close to the end of the year. We've got some momentum going, and that you're feeling good going into these events and feeling like a prepared business owner. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah. Any last thoughts going into this event this weekend or in general about life in the asphalt paving world?
Well, I mean, now that you've put it out there on the table, I'm there to get as many hell yeahs as I can. So
Absolutely.
let's go.
I hear you, man.
LFG.
Absolutely, man. That's tip when Kevin sends me a WhatsApp message that says LFG. It normally means it is time to turn it on, and we are both there ready to press on the gas pedal. So, I do want to thank everyone for being here today. Please like and subscribe, or at least like if you don't mind. It really lets the system know that you're enjoying this valuable content when we truly do appreciate it. If you'd like to catch up with us on our socials, we are at Pave It Forward LLC on Instagram and on YouTube. Also, reached out to us on LinkedIn, and we're also taking applicants for the podcast. If you would like to bring your company, or if you would like to represent your company on the Pave It Forward podcast, head on over to our website. We have a link over there now where you can fill out a form. Just tell us a little bit about yourself, a little bit about your company, and we'd be happy to consider having you on the program. So, with that, Kevin, I appreciate you for your time. Is there any last thoughts for the people?
No, man.
LFG?
Go
LFG?
LFG. Yeah, go out there and get it.
Let's do it.
Go out there and get it.
Well, we'll see you
You
on
gotta
our.
you gotta be on the field. If you want to play, you gotta at least get yourself out there on the field.
Absolutely.
Whether that be through your brand or through attending some of these events or putting a yard sign up. We got custom caution tape coming allegedly at some point in the near future. So again, a very inexpensive caution tape's expensive as hell as it is anyway these days. So it's like, why not put our logo and our phone number on it and make it blue and white? Like
Yeah,
people are gonna see that. It's the little things, man, that make you memorable in your community.
absolutely. Yeah,
And
something.
then do a kick ass job. I mean, you can't be out there doing shitty work. So, you
Yeah,
know, you gotta
no point in getting a job that you're going to end up going back revisiting, then they're going to leave a terrible review. That's not what it's all about. But yeah, something about that caution tape roll is real moving really slow. They haven't
I
they, they,
know it.
they haven't updated that technology in a while.
They
Um,
took the deposit a couple weeks ago, and it's like, where's
yeah, they did say
where's
10
the?
to 15 days in business days in production, but it's like, all right.
It's probably coming from Singapore or something. So
Yeah, well, here's
nothing against Singapore. I'm just saying it has a long way to get to get here potentially.
yeah, absolutely. A few customs to
Yeah,
go through. But anywho,
yeah.
Kevin, I appreciate your time. I'm excited to catch up with you on the next episode, and to everyone out there, we'll catch you on the next episode. Revisit the old episodes if you haven't already, and we'll see you on social.